That ends my notes on Fight Club. Literally, I just had plane crash YouTube thoughts.
Did you even watch the movie past that scene?
Yeah, he's turning us into Flight
He was
Club.
just like, nah.
Club. Flight Club.
Comedy.
And welcome back to the big room. This week's movie we watched was Fight Club. None of it. Wait, Carl, had you seen Fight Club?
I had seen it, yeah.
Nick, had you seen it?
I had
All right,
not.
so the three of us had not seen Fight Club. We're tired. It's the morning
It is the morning.
because we had technical difficulties on actual record day, so we couldn't record. So, you know,
Sometimes that's how it be.
a little behind the scenes. So straight away, if you haven't seen Fight Club before and want to enjoy it at all, basically, I don't. Maybe that's extreme. Shut this off, and then go watch Fight Club and come back because spoilers will ruin this movie.
Yeah.
You will not experience the same movie that you should experience. I guess maybe to a greater degree than other films. I would argue.
Mhm.
If you are spoiled. So if you have any interest in seeing Fight Club, turn this off and then watch Fight Club and then please turn this back on. So there's your warning.
And resume. Yeah.
Do what?
It said and resume.
Yeah. So there's your warning. This is a movie that, like, spoilers matter a lot, more so than other films. So let's start with expectations because, good Lord, were mine different than what we watched.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
So
Eager to
different.
hear, yeah.
I'll start off for once. Instead of passing the baton, I'm going to hold the baton like a selfish runner that just does the whole race himself. I expected this to be a movie about a fight club, more to a degree. So what I thought the movie would be like, you know, Tyler Durden and who I guess we'll call the narrator. I thought they would like just run an actual underground fighting ring, which they do, right? But I thought that would be the whole movie. So I thought the whole movie would be them like running this fighting ring, and then like the conflict would be like trying to stay away from the feds or something like that, you know?
Yeah, I would agree.
So like running a literal underground like UFC,
like
but unsanctioned
betting kind of thing.
Yeah, and gambling. That's what I thought this movie was going to be. It was not that at all.
Yeah.
So, and when it very quickly started to not be that, which we're kind of on the adventure with the narrator at that point in the film, I was like, what is happening? There's still an hour of movie left and we're taking a real big left turn. And that turn never stopped going left until the credits rolled.
Yeah.
It just kept going. So, what a wild movie. Not what I expected at all. And I'm so glad.
You hadn't heard like any lore about this movie or anything going into it?
No.
Okay, wow.
No. I didn't know what the soap meant, you know, and the like the movie posters or
No, I
whatever.
was really confused.
There's a
by
lot
the
of
movie
rich
poster.
symbolism in this movie.
Yeah. And then like, I guess, no, I was totally blind. And normally for movies, like, you know, this was the case for, oh man, what was the movie? I don't remember, but it's the case for Godfather. Some of the other movies we've watched, I would have looked up the plot. Pulp Fiction, that's what I was trying to think of. I would have looked up the plot on Wikipedia and read through it just so I kind of understood when people were talking about it, or like, you know, if a movie was referenced in another thing I'm watching, I would go read about it. I had not done that for Fight Club, so I was like genuinely blind.
Good thing.
And I was really thankful because I would have been
What made you not do that?
I don't know. I just didn't. I guess like,
Huh.
I guess the thing in pop culture that people reference, or in the common lexicon that people reference about Fight Club, is don't talk about the Fight Club. And I was like, oh,
That
they
just
probably
informed the rest of it.
Yeah. I guess that was enough for me to not like, oh, that must be an underground fighting ring that they don't want the cops to catch on to or something like that.
Right.
Not, you know,
Not where
no way
like
it's
a
a deep
terrorist
plot.
ring.
yeah, not like this huge. I don't know. It just hadn't been talked about to me, so I never felt the need to look it up, I guess.
Yeah.
I don't know. Nick, what were you thinking going in?
Man, I was the same where I knew nothing about it. Expected exactly what you just said, just a Fight Club movie about some dudes who start a fight club. I thought, and he still was, but I thought Brad Pitt was like the main character. Like I
Yeah.
looked it up right before I watched it and saw Edward Norton, who plays the narrator, and I was like, oh, that guy's in it.
Yeah,
And it turns out he's like the guy in it.
yeah, I didn't expect that either.
So yeah, I knew nothing. Expected again exactly what you just said. I liked it a lot. I thought it was kind of fun coming off Citizen Kane.
Yeah,
Because in a weird way, they're kind of similar in the sense that like they're telling a bigger story or there's a bigger picture outside
Ooh.
of
yeah,
the
I
plot
get
of the
that.
movie, like
Yeah.
more of a commentary on society kind of thing.
Right.
I don't know that I liked. In that sense, I don't know that I liked it more than Citizen Kane.
Well, Citizen Kane
But
was
it's
a
weird. It's
perfect-
weird to compare the two, though.
It was a perfect movie
Um,
for you too.
Yeah, that's
It
true.
was your first 5-star rating.
Outside of the bigger picture stuff, though, I really liked it. I thought I had nailed the twist, like from the beginning,
Oh, I'm interested in
because
in
so I
that.
went in knowing there was a twist. That's all I
Oh,
knew.
that's okay. Yeah, so you had been minorly
So right out of
spoiled.
the gate, I was like, "This is what's going to happen," and I just nailed it. Like, and we can talk about it, but
Yeah.
I thought I knew the twist, and then I didn't, and then I started understanding that I was wrong, and then like the ride of realizing I was wrong on what I thought, and then realizing what was happening, it was pretty fun.
Yeah. What about you, Danielle?
I mean, same as both of you guys. Like,
Okay.
I expected pretty much exactly what you
Like
said.
a fight ring movie.
Yeah, like I expected like the main conflict was gonna be like running from the cops. Maybe somebody died in the fight club, so then it brought on a lot of heat like from that angle.
Yep.
And I also like I hadn't really heard anything other than the whole like don't talk about Fight Club, and I just again assumed
Took
like
it at face value kind
yeah,
of
I
thing.
was like, oh,
Yeah.
So
because
funny.
beating the crap out of each other is probably not something you should do for funsies.
Right.
So, but I mean, outside of like the plot differences, it was kind of I expected it to be gritty, more of like a guy movie. So from that angle, it was kind of like what I expected, but
Yeah.
it did go a lot deeper then.
Sure.
So
So, Carl,
Yeah.
how many times had you seen?
Before this,
Yeah.
just once. I'd seen it
Just
either
once.
like as a senior in high school or a freshman in college, and I'd seen it with like a buddy. And yeah, I didn't know what going into it, but I will say, like, knowing, like, after you have seen it once and you watch it again, knowing the twist, you get to really it's almost more fun because you get to see the subtle hints they drop throughout the movie, which are a lot. Like it's almost obvious when you watch it now. You're like, how did I miss this?
Okay.
But
Yeah.
when you watch it again, yeah, it's like it's like, man, this is so well done.
So do you
And it's like wait, do what?
do you remember like how was the twist for you the first time?
I was like, what? I was shocked. This was like, I don't think I'd seen a twist in a movie like this, except for, Luke, I am your father. I was like, what?
Right,
It was
right.
like, so I hadn't really seen anything like in a movie like that.
Did you see it in a theater?
No, I saw it just like late night at a friend's house, like at like midnight. And I think I was the only one awake left. And I was just still like gripped by the movie, and I was just like
Gotcha.
watching. But
I had that experience with Aliens, I think.
ooh,
Where I was watching it
Never
with a
seen
friend and a
that
bunch
one.
of his roommates,
haven't
and he had seen it a million times, and it was just him and I up, and I was like glued to the TV because Aliens is great. So the second time, you said more stuff stood out to you.
well, you start to notice, like, when he's talking about the
Well,
narrators, like,
Should we talk about the twist first?
yeah,
in
let's
case-
go ahead and talk
In
about
case
the
for some
twist.
weird reason someone is watching this and doesn't know the twist.
Yeah,
but
so
still wants to be spoiled.
and still wants to be spoiled. So
I mean,
here's
that's
your,
Cameron.
here's your last.
Cameron loves being spoiled.
Although there's a twist now, here's your last warning to just turn the podcast off if you care at all about watching this movie
Yeah.
and experiencing it somewhat correctly.
yep.
The twist is that the Brad Pitt version of Tyler Durden's character doesn't actually exist. It's just like the duality of the narrator. and he's got like some multiple personality thing going on. Maybe
Some
Carl,
kind of
maybe you can,
psychosis to help
maybe
him
you can
cope.
explain it better than I can because you've seen it multiple times.
I think you nailed it. It's just he's not happy with his life, and in order to cope with that, he created a personality, a new person that would be able to do like what he wanted to do. He was capable. You know, he looked the way he wanted to look. He fucked the way he wanted to fuck. He listed all those things, and he just created this like escapist reality. But then that reality, you know, that Tyler Durden character that Brad Pitt plays kind of becomes its own person and starts to do things that our narrator isn't aware of. And there's this battle, this psychological battle going on to kind of be the host person, I guess.
Well, and they don't.
Yeah, really bizarre movie.
They don't
so
really
good.
intersect until
like that last act, I guess.
Yeah, until it like the Fight Club gets blown out of proportion and turns into a terrorist organization.
Project Mayhem.
Project Mayhem, and then we get like that's when the narrator and Tyler Durden begin to, in a weird way, like intersect harder than ever before, but also move together. It's very interesting. I thought one of the things that when that twist happened, and then after the movie ended, one of my first thoughts was like, man, until like the parking garage fight, and when he shoots himself in the head, again, spoilers. Oh, well, this whole podcast is about spoilers from here on out, so whatever. Well, until he like shoots himself in the head and gets rid of the Brad Pitt version, that last scene is really the only scene that we can trust as what actually happened in the whole movie. In a way, because like the narrator doesn't know what's going on really until he realizes it in the third act, late in the third act. So it's like all of because we're experiencing the whole first part, like the whole first 3/4 of the movie, as if there are two people, but there's not. So it's like we even have that flashback sequence where it shows Edward Norton punching himself in the face outside of the bar while the people gather. And it's not,
so ridiculous.
And we have those cuts where it's like, oh wait, that was me in this scene, and I was alone here and here. And it's like, wow, we can't, whatever we've watched in the first 3/4 of this movie isn't actually what happened at all. We only know for sure, like we know that everything happens obviously, but we don't know how accurately it happens until the end of the movie, which is interesting.
Yeah.
Right.
I think the beginning can still be kind of tracked as reality
that's
because
true.
we don't really meet Brad Pitt until that airplane scene, and I think that's when
scene. What did he call
from when Brad Pitt's alive to when he's dead?
Right,
That's
right.
When
that's what we can't trust or can't take as the events that actually happened as they happened.
Yeah, they're a little warped.
Which the one thing that confuses me for that I keep thinking about is, well, there's a couple scenes where I'm like, man, how did these people not realize? And it's when Meatloaf's character, Robert Paulson, his name was Robert Paulson.
His name is Robert Paulson.
Bob. When Bob meets the narrator on the street and is like, I'm in that club too, or whatever, I'm like, how did he not know? Like, he's there the whole time.
I didn't think about that.
I didn't think about that.
Well, he went on a different day, so I'm starting to think that like.
But
and then at that point, Tyler go ahead. Sorry.
I was going to say the other day, isn't that when the narrator thought Tyler was there? So the narrator would have been there.
Which is still him.
But I still think it started to have a life of its own. I think it started to kind of like people were talking about it, like
that's true.
So it started to kind of form its own thing, and then at some point,
by the end of the movie, there's
fight clubs all over the nation,
everywhere. So I guess he doesn't have to be there. Yeah.
I think he sets them up, and I think he kind of lets somebody else be the point man. Like he was talking about at some point, he walked through the background. The leader, he said, walked through the background, let the people that were fighting be the only people that were important. So I think at some point he kind of took a step back and remained anonymous. But yeah, maybe a little bit of a plot hole, but
there was another scene that after I finished the movie, thinking back, I was like, man, that had to be weird in reality. It was when Bob was standing on the porch trying to like make his way and prove that he could join Project Mayhem.
Yeah.
Because
he tells him to leave.
Where Tyler and the narrator both are on the porch, like screaming in these dudes' face, like, get out of here, you're not enough, whatever. And like, if they stand there and they stay, then they're accepted in. And Tyler comes out and yells at Bob's like, you're too fat, you don't belong, get out of here. And then Bob walks away. And then the narrator runs after him and like explains to him what's happening and tells him to come back on the porch. But from Bob's perspective, that was just the same guy. Like
Yeah.
telling him to leave and then running after him.
Yeah,
Like,
But
no,
that's-
come back.
yeah.
I guess in a way,
I changed
though,
my mind.
that's cult leaders, right? Like they're crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You don't follow like no cult like drink the Kool-Aid literally cult leader is a normal guy. They get
Yeah,
a following
that's fair.
because
It's
they're
not
nuts.
traditional
Yeah.
charisma.
Well, and their
It's-
followers aren't exactly normal people either.
Right.
No, you gotta have some issues to
Yeah.
be like, this cult sounds great.
I
would
liked.
love to.
Yeah.
I'd love to.
Yeah,
be
and it's not
involved.
like the people didn't know he was split. He was like, I am Tyler Durden. Like you said you would say that. They knew about his
That was
personality
cool.
differences.
You said you would
That's
say
true.
that too.
Like,
Yeah.
yeah. You definitely said you would say that. It's like, he's like, oh God.
Maybe the character of Tyler told the members more about what was going on whenever the narrator wasn't present.
I don't know if it's that or just that it was such an opposite personality that they just picked up on it. But it's hard, not really clear. But
Yeah. It's
didn't really throw a wrench in my view of it or anything
right.
like that.
No. I feel like I followed it well enough. It's just like the questions that I have in regards to like the duality of Tyler Durden. Name of a book about this movie. Let's write it. The duality of Tyler Durden. Oh, I lost my train of thought now. Oh, the questions are just more fun to ponder than like movie breaking. I
Yeah.
guess, you know?
It'd be cool to see
Mhm.
like somebody make a fan film that's just their impression of seeing him like try to split and be the two different people. It's just like, what is? It'd be so funny to see that kind of reality.
Yeah, I
Bob's
wish-
perspective.
Yeah.
That would have been a fun perspective to show in the film. Like
Yeah.
have a scene where it's clear, like a flashback scene where it's clearly him doing the two opposites right back to back
Yeah.
and people just being into it.
You're just like, okay, cool.
I
Our
really,
fearless leader.
I did like
Do you, bro?
I did like the one of my only notes that I had that I'm trying to find. I like the narration.
Yes, love the
mhm.
narration.
And I guess like, and a lot of movies are based off of books, but I guess like being based off a book really helps when you have like they could have just taken pages right out and just read them essentially.
Yeah. I was surprised at how much setup there was. Like, I mean, what? It was maybe 30 minutes of like my IKEA furniture and my sad job and
That
my
scene
sad
was so
life
cool,
and my
too.
sad this and just all of those
Yeah.
things. I was
Yeah.
like, wow, this is a lot of laying the groundwork for how much you hate society and
Consumerism.
hate your consumerism.
But he
Well,
likes
not knowing-
consumerism,
That's
but
true.
hates it. It's
He
an
loved-
interesting,
He loved to
and
see
that's the scene in particular, or that like getting to know the narrator with the furniture, and we're going through his apartment. No, I saw the yin yang table in a catalog, and I had to have it. That group of scenes was that and the airplane scenes, and really all the narration. But those two stick out to me as this feels like it's right out of a book.
Mm-hmm.
Like it
Yeah.
feels ripped right, like they took a page right out and just taped it onto a script
Yeah, the
and
way it
went
was
read.
Well,
explained.
they basically did. I read that the
Oh.
book came out in 1996, and it was announced that there was going to be a movie in 97.
Wow.
Oh wow, so quick turnaround.
So they were
This
like,
came out in
"This is a
92
good
for
book.
some
Let's
reason."
just make a movie."
Interesting.
Huh.
Good for that author.
Yeah, so
But yeah,
I heard
that,
the author didn't like
the-
the movie though.
Oh.
did he not?
Really?
She?
I don't know.
They?
He or she? I think she. I'm not sure though.
Ooh.
I don't know.
Um,
But to
not sure.
Danielle's point, going into it not knowing really what the movie was about, it did feel slow with all that setup at the beginning. But now knowing where it ended up and like
Yeah.
the overall theme of the
Yeah.
movie, it seems
It ramps up
necessary.
really quick from there too,
It
but
does.
it definitely it's got to have that establishing background.
I really liked and didn't like at the same time the plane scene. Because he's talking about, what did he call them? Single serve friends.
Yeah.
I
Oh,
thought that
yeah.
was pretty profound. That line is
Mhm.
the one line I keep thinking about, is the single serve friends thing.
Mhm.
It's a
Yeah.
kind of psychotic perspective, but I really enjoy thinking about it.
Yeah.
I guess it's
What
like
does that say?
There's a lot
about
of little
you?
lines
I
like
don't
that
know.
that are really,
What?
really good like that.
Maybe I'm too dumb, but what exactly do you think he meant by that?
well, he just means like in the way that you get like, your peanuts on a plane. Like he's here to enjoy these people on this flight only, and then they don't
and then he's out.
really exist or matter to
Yeah.
him beyond that point.
It's a really consumerist way of looking at people. It's like I'm gonna digest this little bit of this person. I'm gonna brush my teeth with this tiny toothbrush, and then it's just like about the commercialism of everything that he's surrounded by.
The
It's like everything's made
toothbrushes-
for these tiny situations. Yeah.
The little individually wrapped packaging
Yeah.
of everything.
The
and then you
individually
just
wrapped
throw it
Q-tip.
away.
yeah,
Like,
exactly.
What a waste.
It's like the toothbrush thing's like a good way, like, you know, the hotel toothbrush that you only use there because yours is at home, and then you throw it away. That's how I was using in quotes these
So
people.
disposable
wasteful.
culture. Like,
Yeah, and but here's what I hated was that fake plane crash scene where he's talking
Oh,
about how
yeah.
you know
Really?
he's
you would pray for a crash.
he's planning for a crash, and then we get to see the plane. I hate that stuff, and I hate it, but I also love it in a way because I'm just out of a phase of what I like to call plane crash YouTube, where there are
I'm
a
just
couple.
dipping my toes into it because of you.
Yeah, there are a couple
No,
YouTube
stay
channels.
away.
There's a couple YouTube channels I follow. I don't remember what they are called, and I don't want to look it up because then the algorithm will put me right back in plane crash YouTube. And I just got out. But they are like there's two video games, Plane X and then the newest Microsoft Flight Sim, where they will using like flight data from like I don't
Black
know.
box audio.
They will use black box audio, but they also have like the flight paths and everything, obviously, because that stuff is all in record. And then from crash investigations, they can see like, okay, this happened at exactly this time, and then that led to this, and then this is what went wrong, and they just simulate that in the plane sims,
Oh my God.
like on PC, and they'll just take you through like literally in the cockpit. The co-pilot accidentally hit this thing. And then that 10 minutes later caused this to happen. And then here's exactly how the plane crashed. And here's the freaking control tower audio. And it's just
It's
not.
never flying
As
again.
someone who's supposed
Yeah.
to be on a plane in now 4 days, I was like, I don't want to think about plane crashes.
I
But
already
here I am.
already hate flying. I'm very much with Obi-Wan. Flying is
try
for
to-
droids.
Live in ignorance.
Yeah, but whenever I'm in plane
Cameron, they
crash
fly now.
YouTube, it's just
Oh god.
the worst. But it's also super interesting. There's
So-
one that sticks out where it's like this Russian flight, and they let like kids in the cockpit or whatever. It was like their kids.
Oh,
And they're like, oh, autopilot's on here. They can play with the yoke. And so they let one of the kids
No.
sit and like touch the yoke or
Oh,
whatever. But the
no.
kid turned it too far and it disengaged the autopilot. And they didn't understand that until they were upside down careening into the ocean.
How do you not feel it?
Oh.
How
So,
do you not notice, like, oh,
well, so it was
I'm
nighttime.
sideways now.
Well, it was nighttime, so they had no orientation. By the time they realized it, was
But wouldn't
unrecoverable.
You be like
Yeah, but
upside down?
G-force and stuff. Like they were nosing down and like at an angle, but then
Oh, okay,
it just
maybe down.
it just happened,
yeah.
and then they're upside
Yeah, I think
down.
at some point it just feels like moving. It's hard to kind of
Yep.
know.
Yep.
that's wild.
Upside
You're-
down in the
yeah.
Black Sea, killed a whole bunch of people because he let his idiot son touch the yoke. So,
Man,
well, I
that's
guess he was the idiot. But
I mean,
that
he was a
one,
child.
that one had real in cockpit audio. That was
oh my god, no.
Oh
thank
my god.
so plane crash YouTube,
gotta-
everybody.
Hey,
Don't go
You're
there.
in a nosedive. You got to pull up, man. Get out of there. That's crazy.
Yeah.
I'd have so many nightmares if I
Oh,
watched that stuff.
And the other thing that I learned from plane crash YouTube is that the oxygen mask makes you high speech is bullshit.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
not real.
Aw.
That's not how that works. Oxygen doesn't make you high. And then they talked about like the bracing maneuver being made to, or they implied that it was made to kill you. That's also false. So everything that Tyler Durden said about planes in a negative
I did hear
light
that
was-
pure oxygen does make you like euphoric though. Like
It
lightheaded.
can, but
it
not.
like wakes you up.
Yeah, but it's
like
not
a,
like
ooh.
that's not why they do it.
No.
They literally do it because like some of the things will be a loss of cabin pressure and then you can't breathe, so you need oxygen, or
So
to
they
avoid
say.
like hypoxia in the event of, which is how a couple high profile plane crashes happened, is when you lose that pressure in the cabin, you like within a minute lose your cognitive function because of the loss of oxygen in. So sometimes like pilots won't even have the wherewithal to put their oxygen masks on. And then there have been several instances of what are called ghost flights, where a plane is just autopilot flying, but everybody in the plane is passed out from lack of oxygen.
Oh my god.
So they'll like
Can we stop talking about the plane crashes?
We'll be
I'm on a
driving
plane in 4
everywhere.
days.
so
Oh,
There you go.
Maybe
Don't you want to be
I
able
mean-
to troubleshoot it in real time?
Yeah.
You want to know all the
No, be
possibilities?
like, let me think. Is my oxygen mask
God.
down? Am I ghost piloting right now?
Well, you
Are we
wouldn't
upside down?
You wouldn't know. to
You
be
wouldn't
fair.
know.
You're right. I'd be passed out.
you'd be
so
passed out until the plane just runs out of gas and
It would
crashes
be.
into a
It
mountain.
would be my time to go.
It's a good time. They
All right,
scramble
this is a-
fighters.
I wouldn't have to
Anyway,
worry about
for
clean episode
retirement.
now.
Wouldn't have to go to work anymore.
So plane crash YouTube. I can't recommend it, but it's interesting.
It's there. If you go looking for it,
we found the clip.
spoiler.
It's
We
there.
found the clip.
It's there for you. Plane crash YouTube.
This is the best tangent we've
the
been on.
coldest embrace to research at 2:30 in the morning. It's either that for me or like diving through 9/11 Wikipedia.
Oh my god.
That's a fun time
Which is
too.
also a plane crash.
plane crash. That's how I got into it the first time. Actually, it was 9/11 Wikipedia. Yeah, I can't recommend it, but it's a good time sometimes. That ends my notes on Fight
Anyway.
Club. Literally, I just had plane crash YouTube thoughts.
Did you even watch the movie past that scene?
He's turning this into Flight
He was
Club.
just like, nah.
He saw that.
Club.
Ah.
Flight Club.
Comedy.
Comedy.
Oh God.
God bless. So
Cinema.
yeah. Let me think. The airplane etiquette, I liked that. The apartment thing, I feel like I knew. Well, of course we knew that was Tyler the whole time, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
here's so my theory going in my twist that as soon as I saw her, I was like, all right, I've nailed it. This is what's happening. I thought that Marla was not going to be real.
Oh.
She comes into because there's this whole montage at the beginning of the film where the narrator's going to these like support groups because they like help him feel alive and they give him a place where he can cry and be emotional and like finally feel something, even though he's not going through whatever these guys are going through.
Yeah.
But there's a scene where he's in like a prostate cancer support
One
group.
of the he visits a bunch of support
Marla walks
groups.
into that.
Yeah.
Which I guess women could be there, but the second she walked in, I was like, why would she be here? There's no way she's real. So right off the bat, I was
Gotcha.
like, I nailed it. She's not real.
Yeah.
That's going to be the twist. So
So you're close.
half of the movie, I was like, okay,
That is so funny.
she's not real. So how is this playing out? Like that was in the back of my head.
I love that.
And then I slowly started to realize she has to be real because of X, Y, and Z that's happening.
Yeah.
Like other people are interacting, but
I really like that theory though. Like,
Yeah,
and as soon as you said that,
yeah.
I was like, maybe she wasn't. Maybe she was another form of psychosis. But I was like, well, they brought her in physically,
Yeah.
so I was like, okay,
Yeah.
maybe she is real. But yeah, that
And
would
there
have
was
been
a
really
scene-
wild.
there was a scene where she's across the road from the narrator and they're
Mhm.
like staring at each other and a bus goes by and the scene cuts right at the end of the bus. But I thought they were going to do it to where the bus went by and,
and
then
she was
disappeared.
gone. That classic. Yeah.
And it was like so close to being that. I was like, this has to be intentional.
Yeah.
And maybe it was to like throw you off.
I kind of
But
yeah,
thought
that's
that was the first half
like
of the movie.
But she
for
does
me
cross
was-
traffic with no problem either. And then when he tries to, he's like, whoa, whoa, and cars
Yeah,
are
yeah.
coming. So it's like a ghost could have walked through there.
There
no
are
problem, or
theories
an
out there
imaginary
that
character.
that she wasn't real. But
Really? Do any of them hold
I
water?
think they're busted. No,
Mm.
I
Myth
don't
busted.
think they hold up.
Yeah.
Myth busted.
Myth
Busted.
busted. What were you gonna say?
I was just gonna say, like Nick, I kind of thought she was gonna be, like, not necessarily not real, but like, before we knew that Brad Pitt wasn't real, I thought like she was like in cahoots with Tyler and was like helped him blow up the apartment, or you know, was involved in like some of the other like underground like fighting ring stuff. So I kind of thought that she was gonna be more of a key player.
That's interesting. So you thought she was like a bad actor,
Yeah.
but
And like that's why she showed up at the like support groups to mess with them. I thought she was kind of be one of the ones that was gonna pull him into the like dark.
which is hilarious because she ends up being like the foundation of sanity at the end of the film.
Yeah.
Oh, romance.
And even before that, like, you know, we had a Groundhog Day diner situation where he like sits her down and
Yeah.
is like, you know, all this is happening and blah blah blah. And she's like, "You're crazy," and he has
You
to
need
get her on the
serious
bus
medical
and stuff. Yeah,
It's like, I don't care. Just take the money.
just
You're the
take
worst thing that
money.
ever happened
You'll
to me.
never see me again.
Doors closed. Oh.
I don't know, man. I think I liked the movie.
It's bleak.
So,
It is very bleak.
It's entertaining. It's bleak. It's witty. It's, you know, a little gritty, dark. subversive. It does a lot of things really well. But yeah, it's one of those hard to watch movies. Like when he's doing the chemical burn, I'm like, ugh. There's a lot of stuff I
Oh,
just
that
don't.
was, I did not
There's
like
a lot of
that.
content that I'm not like wild about. Like I don't like the cancer scenes because I'm like I don't want to think about that, you know.
Right.
But it's just part of the
Cancer
movie.
scenes?
Like support groups, like that. Those make me
Oh,
kind
okay,
of
yeah.
nervous or like anxious because I'm like, oh, that could happen to anybody, you know. And I'm like, I don't
Yeah,
like.
but we got
I don't like
Bob
being
out of that.
around that. Right? Yeah. It's worth it, but it's one of those like it's an uncomfortable scene.
Yeah.
There's a lot of them like that when he's beating Angel Face to a pulp.
Ooh, yeah.
It's
that
like
was
it's
rough.
hard to watch, but it's like that it had to happen for the story. So there
Yeah.
weren't really any MacGuffins in this, were there? It was Tyler a MacGuffin.
Fight Club.
Fight Club wasn't
Fight Club
really the
itself,
driving
but-
force.
No, I don't think it will. I don't think there really was.
Yeah.
Rather than using a MacGuffin to move the story along, they used the narration.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, true.
It chose a different plot device
it's a
to
different
drive
plot
the
device.
story.
By the way, Meatloaf passed away last year.
Aw.
Mhm.
Almost a year to the, well, it was last month, but January 20th, 2022. So shout out to Meatloaf. Bad Outta Hell's a good song. And I couldn't name another one of his songs if my life depended on it. So, but he was
I'm
cool in
not
this
gonna
movie.
lie. I'm not gonna lie, I didn't even know that was Meatloaf until I read about it.
Yeah, it was Meatloaf.
Like I recognized him, but I didn't realize it was Meatloaf himself.
I did enjoy, weirdly, and I really didn't like this scene as it was happening, but then as soon as it resolved, and I saw where it was going, but as soon as it resolved, I was like, ooh, that was one of my favorite scenes in the movie, was when Tyler, like Brad Pitt Tyler, right, not the narrator, takes the narrator and they start doing stuff, like he starts assigning these side quests, right, to people in, this is when the terrorist part was beginning. What was that called again? The organization?
Project Mayhem.
Project Mayhem. This is like when the seeds of Project Mayhem are being laid and they start to expand Fight Club beyond Fight Club. And, we see a little bit of that stuff happening, kidnapping the mayor, councilman or whatever and
And
threatening
this is
him.
kind of where Tyler and the narrator kind of have a split.
Exactly.
Like he starts to feel left out from his own project, and
Right.
The Marla thing didn't help. Like once Tyler and Marla were a thing, that kind of threw a wedge too. But this was like the deciding factor that really kind of put some distance between
And
them a little bit.
I think that's what kind of set him off to like the eventual understanding of what was happening in his own head.
Right. But the gas station scene, I really liked the
Oh,
gas
yeah.
station scene where they walk in and Tyler's got a gun and I'm like, what?
Yeah,
Like, are we
dude.
gonna watch Tyler shoot someone in the head right now? And then they take that like kid out back, and it's really interesting that to me that he's using like attempted murder to like the tomorrow is gonna be the best day of that guy's life part.
Yeah.
Where he's like, hey, you're gonna go back to college to be a veterinarian or whatever, or I'm gonna find you and blow your brains out. And then steals his ID as a trophy, and then we see later on that he's got
There's
all
so
of
many.
these IDs on the wall. So he had been like using terror to inspire, and I'm like, that's interesting.
Yeah. Yeah.
And there were never any bullets in the gun. I saw that coming, but I still was like, man, that's I like
he
that
means
scene. I don't
well,
know.
but he's not got the best, the most approachable technique.
And I don't have an example
Yeah.
offhand,
Can't
but
argue with the results.
I've seen stuff like that in other movies. I don't have an example offhand, but never that severe.
Yeah, that was pretty severe.
Yeah.
Like it was just that principle of like, when you're closest to death, you feel the most alive or whatever.
Right.
Um,
The word principle too is another because like I feel like a lot of the movies we've been watching are like these lone guys that kind of do their own thing, but they have their own kind of baked in principle.
right. Like
Like-
Casablanca and
Yeah.
and
Oh,
Citizen Kane
Riggs.
even.
every
Yeah.
episode, dude.
it's a good
Yeah.
movie.
Always comes back to Casablanca.
Yeah. Well, and then like other movies like Scarface, these kind of
on
characters.
the list.
Taxi Driver, American Psycho.
That's not on the list. It should be though.
Those are all like the
Next year.
pinnacle, like those literally me characters that everyone
Yeah.
likes to identify with. The Sigma male, the
Yeah.
Walter Whites and the Peaky Blinders guys of
Peaky Blinders
pop
is
culture.
good. Yeah. The alphas, right?
Yeah, yeah.
We're gonna do this extreme thing, and we're gonna do it my way.
Yeah.
Godfather.
Yeah.
I can't wait for Godfather. If we pull Godfather, oh my god.
No, I don't want you to pull
boy.
Godfather because I won't be here next week.
Oh yeah, we're
Oh.
down a man next week.
I hope y'all
Mm.
get like a Western because I don't want to watch a Western. So I'm like, get something that I
Oh,
don't
the good,
wanna
bad,
watch.
the ugly would be great.
That would be good.
Tombstone.
We'll see
Man.
what the budget
Ooh.
decides.
I
Man,
could go for a Western right now.
The when Project Mayhem, right? So when it starts wrapping up, we get we get a fun montage of the narrator like being one step behind Tyler and flying all over the country, and this is when it's starting to really unravel for him, but when the audience is really starting to piece together what's happening in that, like, oh, he's always one step behind him. We can't find where Tyler is. And then he goes to that one bar or whatever, and he's like, you were just here 3 weeks ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, the guy's like, is this a test?
Is this a test? And he's like, what are you talking about?
Yeah, and before that, everyone kind of sprinkles in "sir" every now and then, the little clues. Like they'll call him "sir" or "Mister," you know. But it's like, it's
Yeah, like
so
in Coach
funny watching
Carter.
this again. Yeah,
Sir.
Then we get that when he goes and travels to that bar or whatever, we get that hysterical scene where he like stumbles upon a group of guys that are seemingly around the dead body, and they're just all chanting, his name was Robert Paulson.
Yeah. It's such
yeah.
a
Were they
weird-
standing around a body, or were they just like?
I thought they were just in the
I
closet.
assume so.
I
Well,
thought they were
mean,
just
that's
like,
what
did
they
you
say
hear
when
what
someone
happened? And
is dead.
yeah, but Robert wasn't in there. They would have said the other guy's name, wouldn't they?
Yeah, because they
Well, I
said
think
that
was more of a
you only get your name after you're dead.
In death,
yeah.
a member of Project Mayhem has a name. His name was Robert Paulson.
Right.
That scene is so good. Like,
It's just crazy to me that many people were like, yeah, life sucks. I'm going to join a terrorist organization and give up all my possessions and sleep on a wooden bunk bed and not shower with clean water or eat good food or do anything. Like, have y'all had macaroni and cheese? Macaroni and cheese is
pretty
great.
good.
Just eat that. Don't blow up buildings.
yeah. I guess that's the irony of it too, is they gave up their
That's it.
What?
solved
We've
all their
got.
problems with macaroni.
That's right. We've got to just take a C-130 and drop Kraft mac and cheese on like Afghanistan, and we'll be good to go.
Yeah.
They'll be so happy.
World
They'll be
peace.
like, we don't,
Man,
world hunger is a big problem, so let's just feed them,
there you go. Well, yeah.
So-
all right.
The
let them
answer
eat cake.
is here.
Yeah.
We've solved terrorism. Just give them Kraft
Just give
mac
them
and cheese.
mac and cheese.
Velveeta magic
When
shells.
did you guys start to piece together what was happening?
Then that's what I'm saying is then and then yeah, I guess at that point, but then also really when the narrator did. I didn't catch on early.
I didn't either.
So what was the scenes that really clicked it were the scenes that clicked it for him, and that's when he's trying to stop all the terrorism that he had set up, and really when he's fighting himself in the parking garage around the van, and he shoots
That was
through
so
Oh,
good.
yeah.
he shoots through Tyler, and Tyler's like, we have like
It's like you are shooting your imaginary friend, and
Exactly.
there's 400 gallons of nitroglycerin.
which is so funny. I loved that moment, but like that's
Yeah, the casting was perfect. Like both of them in their prime, both maybe their most
Yeah.
iconic roles. Like, the sound design,
almost
the
got-
music.
That's when
So
I
good.
realized I
almost
hadn't really seen any Brad Pitt movies for one, and for two, as I was going through the IMDb, Brad Pitt seems to be in less high profile films than I feel like I realized.
Yeah, no, I feel like you hear about Brad Pitt a lot, and I was like, oh yeah, he kind of really hasn't done anything like he's not Tom Cruise level. I feel like Tom Cruise is in
Right,
way
that's what I
more
expected.
But see,
crazy movies.
yeah, not having seen a lot of his movies or any of his movies until this,
You same.
I thought he was a Tom Cruise
Exactly.
Yeah.
level.
I thought I would be like, oh, he's in this huge franchise, and oh, like of course I've seen 30 million
Right.
trailers for this and that and that, and it was like, oh nope, it's like Fight Club, and then I think I remember this movie, and I kind of remember that one, and blah blah blah.
Yeah.
There's not as
I
many.
mean, he's
Is
in
he
a
in
lot
the
of big
Tarantino?
stuff.
He is.
Yeah,
he
he's
is.
in not always. Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
That's
Troy,
true,
Mm.
but like
Um,
not in as many.
Glorious Bastards.
I guess like Glorious Bastards
That's
is a
right.
good point, but not in as
He's in a lot of them, but I feel like Tom chooses big roles and continues to try to be a Hollywood guy, whereas
Right.
Brad's
Yes,
more
it does
chill.
1,000
Exactly.
Mission Impossibles.
That's what I think I'm trying to articulate, like quote unquote, not to offend or belittle, but like dumb Hollywood summer blockbusters. Like like to say that it'd be more likely to see Tom Cruise in a Transformers movie than Brad Pitt, if that
Yeah.
makes sense. I know he wasn't,
Yeah.
but like
Yeah.
Pit Stop's got the creative license to kind of do what he wants.
yeah, he's not doing 37 Mission Impossible movies, right? Like that's Tom Cruise's ballpark. I guess. And that's what I expected from Brad Pitt, I guess, just hearing his name all the time. Again, this is from a completely movie illiterate human being. So it was just surprising to me that I didn't recognize outside of some
There's
of those
probably
Tarantino
someone
films.
out there right now going, they're not talking about Brad Pitt's biggest movie.
Yeah. Like with Brad Pitt posters on the wall behind them. They're like, he's my favorite
They're not talking about
actor."
Benjamin Button.
Oh, I have seen Benjamin Button.
I have not.
I have seen a Brad Pitt.
I have not.
That's a good movie.
I've seen a Brad Pitt.
So I don't know. I guess we'll wrap up the story. He fights himself in the garage, in the parking garage, and he's really trying to, I guess, kill the Tyler Durden, the Brad Pitt Tyler Durden, as we know.
And it's kind of a fool's errand too, because there's 10 other locations with detonators. He's not going to be able to get there in time.
Right, and the last scene, we watched a bunch of
True.
skyscrapers blow, and he blows up, I guess, banks because there's no debt if there's no record or something.
Which
Which-
wouldn't work today.
Would-
Well,
Wow.
no, and
Would it have
Y2K
worked back
hadn't
then?
Y2K hadn't happened yet, or had not happened.
Oh,
yet.
wow.
Because it was the
Not
90s,
happened.
so the internet, like, I just don't know how much of banking was digital.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
was maybe a little more believable, too, not having
Yeah, like one
everything online and...
the technology thing that
Like
made
in
me.
that time.
It wouldn't
Yeah.
work at all today. It'd be so easy to track these people,
Yeah.
and like it'd be impossible. But yeah, the timing
All
is
I'm saying,
perfect for
though,
this kind of
is
story.
if there is a way to get rid of the national debt, get rid of everyone's debt, and not kill anyone, which is what they did in this movie.
Yeah,
Well, and not kill anyone in the process of blowing up these buildings.
Well,
yeah,
they
they were
were
very
armed.
If that's
deliberate about
possible,
not harming.
I am for it. Please get rid of my debt. I don't want anyone to get hurt.
Yeah.
I
Get
just
Nick
want
some
this
mac
to
and
go away.
cheese.
This
Get him
movie's
mac and
Get him
cheese.
mac and
modern fairy tale. Yeah,
I liked the. Speaking of the.
Nick starts Fight Club.
Yeah, if we start seeing him showing up with random bruising, we'll know.
Yeah.
Nick's punching himself in the face
Yeah.
outside of O'Malley's. I liked to comment on the age of this movie being the late 90s. I liked how they referenced IBM as like a strong technology reference. It's like, oh,
Yeah.
yeah, that company
Starbucks
that just
still holds up though.
Starbucks holds up, but it's like, oh yeah, that computer company that just
Dude.
tinkers with Watson the whole time. That's all they're known for today, really.
So we can maybe talk a little bit about like the bigger, like, ideas of the movie and the commentary of the movie. But there was, and I didn't even realize it. I had heard this fact before the movie where they hit a Starbucks cup in almost every scene
Oh, did
as like symbolic of consumerism. Like I knew that was a thing.
Yeah,
And
I
I
didn't know
read
about
that they had done that. I didn't realize it was this movie, and I didn't even pick up on it. But if you go
Oh.
back, there's a Starbucks cup in literally almost every scene.
They did the same thing in Game of Thrones.
I was gonna say that.
One more thing before I
It's a direct
forget.
reference.
Before I forget, one more thing, and this has to do with the very beginning of the movie. And I genuinely don't know if this is on purpose. Maybe one of you can help, but we saw it. So they
Yeah.
talk about when they're talking about Tyler Durden's odd jobs that he does at night, right? One of the ones is he splices in a single frame of pornography into like kids movies, right? So they'll be watching a kids
Yeah.
movie, and then all of a sudden tits are on the screen for a frame, and they're like, "Did we see that?"
Yeah.
I'm not sure if we saw that.
The girl just crying.
Earlier in the film, in one of the first couple groups of scenes, there was like a frame of like an individual that popped up, and I don't
I
know
think
if
it
that
was Tyler.
Was that Tyler? Because
So-
I
think so.
caught that person was in red, and then when we meet Tyler, he's in red, and it happened.
Yeah.
What I noticed it 2 times early on in the film.
So it happens 3 times.
I missed the third.
There's like a
one.
hospital scene. He's like outside somewhere, and I forget the other one. But yeah, it's Tyler every time. And that's what kind of set me off to thinking, okay, he's not right in the head and someone's fake. And then I went down the like
Gotcha.
Marla rabbit hole.
I just kind of thought, I guess it makes sense in post, like after I've watched it, to go, oh, in a similar way that Tyler was splicing in pornography, like that was us
Yeah,
realizing that the
Dang, yeah.
narrator was starting to splice in Tyler, maybe.
yeah.
Is kind of how I interpreted that. I don't know, but I was
That's
like,
what I thought.
is my copy of this rented movie that I rented on the internet that's not a copy
Is it messed
broken?
up?
Did somebody tamper with this? Yeah.
Someone's in the Google machine.
And we do get another flash at the very end.
I was going to say, did you guys catch that?
No.
Oh,
the
you gotta
very
go back
end,
and yeah,
What was it? Was it the
a nice big cock.
Oh yeah. I think I remember that. I remember
nice
that.
big
Yeah,
Yeah.
right at the very end. Yep, I
A
remember.
hummingbird couldn't catch Tyler at work.
That. So
I memorized
yeah,
a lot of lines in this movie.
that's the only weird thing that I really wanted to bring up was the single frames of Tyler that popped up. I
Yeah.
only caught it twice though.
Kind of like that. The sound design when Tyler or the narrator would get on a rant, there'd be like a kind of a synthy overlay. Like
Yeah.
when he was trying to like confront Marla, the music kind of doom doom and kind of really put you in like almost a heart throbbing like bump,
Yeah.
like a head pounding place. It was really really interesting. I hadn't really seen a movie do that kind of technique with audio,
Yeah,
so
so
that was really cool to see.
I guess to kind of push towards ratings, unless anybody has anything else, we can.
I mean, we could talk about this movie forever. I feel
Sure.
Like there's so much like I think Danielle, you were talking about why these people would want to join a cult, and it's like I think the irony is that they gave up their identity, and that's kind of what he was telling them they were doing in the first place by being consumers. It's like you're giving up your identity. You're not your sofa. It's like,
Exactly.
and now you're my project. It's like so they go from one false identity to another false identity, and it's like that's no solution.
Well, but a false identity with a leader, though. They're being told what to do.
Yeah, but they're being told by
Yeah, but
magazines and
that's-
ads in the same way.
But that's what to buy.
Right, and that's kind of the bigger like philosophical idea here too. Is like we're all sheep being told what to do by corporate America, and we have to live a certain life. We have to fill our apartments with IKEA furniture,
yeah.
and like they're all trying to get away from that. But like Carl was saying, it's ironic because they just end up doing the same thing in a
Back at
different
square
way.
one with less stuff. They go from being sheep to black sheep.
Yeah, it's like
It's
Which
really
is-
it.
yeah.
it's a we're all slaves to something kind of
Yeah.
narrative,
And there's that
which is true, I think.
There's that overarching theme that they say in the movie where it's nothing solved and nothing matters.
Yeah.
Yes.
So it's like
Even in killing himself,
nothing
nothing
matters.
changed.
Let's just
oh,
let's just f up the world.
speaking of that, I and Danielle had this thought too, and I couldn't fully understand it myself. He shoots himself in the head, and it blows out the back of Tyler's brain, but he's
Right.
I was mad.
fine. I just didn't understand.
He
like,
should have been dead. Right?
So
I
that
don't
was
think he
he
Go ahead,
didn't
Nick.
want to kill himself.
right?
He was tricking the Tyler part of his brain. Right?
Yeah.
He wanted Tyler to think that he was going to die. But he shot himself in the cheek.
Okay, so he shot himself
So
out of the mouth and
The
not in the head.
person, yeah. So the person of Tyler was essentially tricked and was like, "All right, we're dying," and he killed Tyler
Yeah.
by shooting himself. But in reality, he shot himself in the cheek. And
Okay.
But
That
either
makes
way.
that makes
Ugh.
sense.
Mind games.
Yeah, we got two
Gave me the heebie-jeebies.
two shots of the back of people's open brains between Tyler
Yeah.
and Robert Paulson.
How'd you like that, Danielle?
Yeah, I did not. I was like, and hearing him talk when he had like afterwards, I was just like,
Okay.
stop talking. I don't want to hear you talk with your
Like
whole mouth.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah, I don't know how he like. Yeah, he wasn't dead. Like he shot himself in the cheek. I feel like he would have still been just.
It
passed
seemed like it
out
came out
or
like his,
something
you
his
after that.
neck area. I mean, this
He was
guy's
moving
dealt
around
with,
too much.
Like your neck's important.
this guy never sleeps. He doesn't like. He's a
That's true.
inhuman person. He's
Yeah,
a
that's fair.
strange. Yeah.
Yeah, and then
He's an outlier.
Marlo watches the crazy man shoot himself and is all of a sudden like, "I'm coming around."
She's like, yeah, this sounds like a good relationship.
You're self-sabotaging? Maybe
He's
I
like-
like you.
He says something along the lines of, "You got to know me at a weird time in my life."
Yeah.
Which is hilarious.
Which
very
understatement.
flippant.
Of, yeah.
yeah,
Yeah,
very
it
flippant
almost
way to
gets
put that.
comedic at the end.
Yeah.
There's a lot of funny parts in this movie.
Yeah.
What do y'all think happened? Do you think it was a happy ending? Do you think that Tyler got caught? Because at one point they say he's being sued because of the like urine content of the soup at one restaurant, and then like he told the police chief or whatever everything. The three other guys worked for
Ooh.
him, but what do you think happened?
Yeah.
Do you think he got away with it? Do you think everything worked out? Or do you think it matters?
I don't think
I
it
don't-
matters if that's fair to say. I didn't that
It
that
almost-
thought
it
didn't
can't matter.
Yeah.
It can't matter because there's so many loose ends that you start thinking about if you go down that rabbit hole of like, well, all right, well, there's still members of Project Mayhem out there. Like, what do they do? What's happening with them? Does the narrator go back? Like, I don't know that we're
Yeah, 'cause
necessarily
it's really-
I
supposed
think
to
he's keeping
even-
the best of both worlds. I think he's keeping the best parts of Tyler and he's keeping the best parts of him to make a more whole person. And I think he gets
Sure.
away with it because everybody's in his pocket. the entire building, all these places. If there's data or anything that could throw him, they're
It's
gonna
like
make
the
sure that he's
mob.
okay. Right. Like his influence is so big now that he probably can't be taken down.
Yeah,
Like
I guess to me,
too big to fail.
I didn't really
Yeah.
dwell on that stuff. I don't think that
Well-
conclusion is. I think that's a solid conclusion.
I think it's open to interpretation.
Yeah.
but for me, it
Yeah.
was like that was a Tyler Durden. That was a Tyler Durden movie, and now he's the Brad Pitt version. And now that he's gone, well, that's the point of the movie. So I guess I felt enough resolution
Yeah.
that I didn't really move on past any of that.
Yeah.
Like, of course, the skyscraper's falling opens up a whole nother can of worms, but
and the fact that he needs to go to the hospital because he's bleeding out of his mouth.
he's like, I shot myself.
Yeah.
Maybe he's just in a psych ward for the rest of his life.
The whole there's another end credits. The whole thing just happened in a psych ward, and he's just shaking like this. None of it happened at all. It's just like, no, you went too far.
Well, if you really care, there is a Fight Club 2 and 3, but
What?
as books, not movies.
Okay.
So there's 2 more books, so maybe they get into that.
Gotcha.
That'd be interesting. I do want the sort of cerebral, subversive, romantic comedy sequel with him and
Marlo.
Marlo.
It's another movie where it could be like a anger management style comedy.
Yeah,
but in
it
reverse.
ends like Groundhog Day, where it's like, oh, they're together in this perfect world? Question mark.
Yeah.
Like,
Oh, that would be a terrible day to repeat.
Oh my god.
can
Yeah.
you imagine?
There were weird parallels to Groundhog Day the whole time, although they're not very
Yeah.
similar movies.
No.
But you could draw them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not going to expand on that ever. But you could if you wanted to.
That is a thought, and I put it out there.
Yeah. Let's go to star ratings because we're almost at an hour. And we've got to draw our next movie, which I'm so excited for. And then we have to watch it like immediately because
we
we're
do.
recording this so late to keep on schedule. So I am interested in Nick's star ratings are like my favorite. I want him to start.
Oh. All right. Well,
None of us have
I'm
really
torn,
thought
man.
about this. So, well, not thought
That's
about
true.
it, but we like normally we've come into this with
star
set
rating.
star ratings already. I don't think any of us are there.
It's getting harder to.
This movie's different.
Yeah.
well, I'm also comparing, and maybe this isn't like maybe I shouldn't do this with star ratings, but I'm comparing to what I've like rated other movies.
Let's kind of say what the star rating.
But-
I don't know if we've addressed what the star ratings really mean, and I think they're kind of like just our enjoyment factor, but with other things like attributed. So
Yeah. With like classic, criteria.
I guess what we're saying, like when I give Gangs in New York a 2.5, I'm not like that movie's terrible. I'm just like I didn't enjoy it that much, but I liked it for this, and this. So 2.5, I guess. Like they're not. I don't know how concrete they should be
Gangs
taken.
of New York was a terrible movie, and I will stand by and die
Yeah,
on
I
that
didn't
horse
like-
for
I didn't-
the rest of my life.
What did you rate Casablanca?
4,
4?
4.5.
Come on.
It's a good
Come
movie.
on.
Nothing
Can't be
nothing
trusted.
we've watched has been better than Pulp Fiction for me. But go ahead. Go ahead.
Pulp Fiction's amazing.
So yeah, as far as final review, and this was coming straight out of Citizen Kane 2, where I'm already in the mindset of like everything has a deeper meaning. So I enjoyed that about this movie as well.
Okay.
Where it's like, Tyler was a representation of his potential and everything he could become or wanted to become, and the power that he wanted to have. And in a way, he got there, but also he killed Tyler. So I don't know where that leaves him, but so I enjoyed the bigger picture part of it, and like breaking free from capitalism, but also nothing matters.
Yeah.
And like Carl was saying earlier, there was a couple things that I didn't like. And one of the points, and maybe this is like an intentional part of the movie, I just didn't like it, was the idea that all the members of Fight Club traded being sheep for one thing to be a sheep of another, which
Yeah.
kind of defeated the purpose of this big conflict in their life anyways. And also it really kind of bothered me, like at the end of the movie, once you start thinking back, it's like when Tyler and the narrator start fighting for the first time, and they like start to get a following in the parking lots and the like origin of Fight Club, there's we now know, just a group of people watching the narrator punch himself.
Well, they showed us that
And they were like, we're going to follow this guy. This is
That's a
going to
good
be our
point.
thing. Like, no, they would have been like, this is a crazy man, walk
That
away.
is kind of
Like,
silly.
So, like, the idea of this guy being able to do what he did in this movie and eventually start a franchise of fight clubs, I don't know. And again, maybe you're not supposed to look at it through this lens, but like, realistically, how would that have happened? And like you were saying earlier too, Cameron, like, there's a couple scenes where it's like, what did the characters think? And like, he would be talking to himself because it's a Tyler narrator conversation. I don't know, stuff like that kind of bothered me. Just the idea of this guy was able to get this big of a following. But outside of that, it was fun to watch. The twist was fun. It was fun to think I had the twist, and then no, I didn't have the twist, and then get another twist. So for star rating, I will go. I'll give it a 3.5.
All right. Carl,
That's
go
lower
ahead.
than I would have thought.
What about you,
Carl.
Carl?
Oh, I thought you said Algo.
No.
So I'm kind of there with you, Nick, but I think them joining, it was like, it speaks more to like the culture as a whole, just feeling kind of numb and lost. And then you see this one guy that's so starkly different in contrast to like what's happening, that they're like, I'll at least try this. And then they kind of get something from it. And then it just kind of builds from there. So I didn't really discount that part of it. I think, we've talked about what this movie does well. I think the casting was perfect. I think the dialogue was great. It felt very conversational, like Pulp Fiction. It felt like gritty, raw dialogue. The narration is fantastic. The sound design, the music are all great. The scenes where they're shot and choreographed are all great. The plot twist is like insane, and then getting to rewatch it knowing the twist is even better because you're in on it this time. Man, and there's just so many great, like, his name is Robert Paulson, the Don't Talk About Fight Club. There's all these like pervasive themes and iconography, the soap, and then, this movie just gives you a lot of ideas. You're just like, I wonder how I can bring some of Tyler Durden into my life. Like, once I started watching this, I started doing push-ups more. I started doing like, I would play video games standing up and just do kettlebells in between. So I'm like, I'm not wasting any time. I'm getting like, I'm gonna be carved out of wood.
Yeah.
It's like when people watch Batman and they think they're Batman coming out of the theater.
Right, yeah. It's one of those movies that you can base your whole personality on. Like, it's one of the, like, that with like Scarface and all those other, it's like the 4 horsemen of freshman dorm posters, like
Yeah.
But I think I really enjoyed this one. It holds up to several rewatches. You find something new every time. I think I'm gonna give it a 4.5.
4.5.
4.5.
Yeah.
I was gonna give it a 5, but that's 3 in a row. I can't do that.
It's your rating. You can do whatever
You can do whatever you want.
I can't, but it's like, but I think there's still stuff that like I don't the stuff that's hard to watch.
don't
I'm like,
wanna
I'm gonna take a
oversaturate
little point
fives.
off.
Right.
Yeah, I don't want to oversaturate 5. Plus, it is really good, but yeah, it's not perfect. I guess I don't know.
What about
Don't
you?
ask me to be reasonable.
What about you?
I would never.
I'm really having a hard time because I feel like Nick this episode, where I came in thinking one thing, and then as we've talked about it, I'm like, maybe I liked it more than I thought I did. So like my original thinking was a 2.
Wow.
Because I don't know, like, it was an interesting movie. They did the twist really well because like I didn't see it coming. And I do that thing in movies a lot where I'm like, she's going to do this or he's going to do that. And I had none of that for this. So now I kind of want to bump it up to a 3, actually.
Okay.
So, like, and like you guys were saying, like, the acting was great. Edward Norton and Brad Pitt both did a great job. And, like, Cameron has talked about, like, how much he liked the styling. Like, it was really cool, like, gritty, and the way they built the world was interesting. So I'll give it a 3.
All right.
I'll give it a 3.
So, Nick, you were what?
3.5.
3.5. Carl was a 4.5, and Daniel's a 3. I really don't know. I'm gonna have to think through it out loud. So for me, I don't know if this is my style of movie overall. It's not. I don't think it's the grittiness that bothers me, because there was some grit in Pulp Fiction, and I loved that movie. I don't know. At first, I was thinking like, man, is it just this like late '90s like where cinema was at because I also didn't like Gangs of New York. And to me, I think I expected, because of where this movie is at culturally, I think I expected more of a Pulp Fiction, and I got more of a Gangs of New York, if that makes sense.
That does make sense.
Yeah.
But, it can't be the 90s because Pulp Fiction was in the 90s, and I loved that movie.
I think the color grading plays a lot into it because it's very Matrix green.
Okay, and that's true.
That's kind of what I'm saying with the gritty. It's like more of the presentation of the
definitely like camera filter heavy, but
Yeah.
so are other movies that I like, I guess. And to me, what brings it up from like a Gangs is the soundtrack was better. I really did not like the Gangs of New York soundtrack or sound design, especially that first fight scene where
This
everything
one had
just
a lot
felt-
more emotional resonance too than Gangs of New York did, I think. So like I
Oh,
feel
yeah.
like it,
because it
had more
left.
meaning
I think it
behind
left more to us, I guess, because it was such an emotionally and psychologically
not so cut and dry.
based movie, whereas I think Gangs was trying to tell us more how to feel directly. I don't know.
Like
I don't.
Leonardo DiCaprio's narration versus Edward Norton's narration.
So much better.
Totally
Oh
different.
yeah.
I
Can't
really
play in the
enjoyed it
same
more,
game.
and I guess. But the problem is I don't know enough about movies or just anything in general to be able to articulate why I don't like Gangs, and not to make this more about Gangs. I liked Fight Club. I don't know if I would. It's not a watch it every year movie for me, Like, I'm not going to revisit Fight Club all the time. I would watch Pulp Fiction tomorrow. I would watch Casablanca tomorrow. I would watch, there are movies that we've seen that I would watch right now. This is not one. It was heavy. Man, I don't know. I'm thinking 3.5. I'm thinking 3.5. It was a good movie, and I am not mad I watched it. I was exhausted after watching it.
Yeah.
It's a lot.
And because of that, I don't like to feel that way after movies. I don't like to. I'm kind of a baby. Like, I don't. I don't like big, heavy, and that's all this list is.
It's
is
the same
big,
guy
heavy
watching
films.
flight sims of plane crashes.
I hate that I do that, man. I don't know.
I don't like to feel heavy. Plane crash.
Oh, well, that's plane crash is a lot of like data though and process,
I know.
whereas this is
I know.
like
Your brain can work through that easier
Yeah.
than
exactly.
It's
I
just a funny comparison.
don't know, man. I'm a baby movie watcher. I like my Gerber baby food movies. I like to watch A New Hope for the
Yeah, but you
250th
liked
time.
Pulp
There
Fiction.
it
Pulp
is.
Fiction left you feeling like excited.
Right,
And that's
I
not a
loved
baby
that
movie. That's not a
movie.
baby movie, so
I love that, and I liked Citizen Kane too because I think Pulp Fiction and Citizen Kane had similar moments of like what they're doing, like with these cameras, is amazing. Citizen Kane, the plot was like, it was all right. It was all right, and it was all right because of
so right.
I don't know. The plot isn't what made Citizen Kane a 4 or 4.5 or whatever I gave it movie. It was watching how the camera work was and some of the shots and knowing in the back of my head and then researching later for the show how revolutionary they were. But even without that context going in, and I didn't get that in this one, I guess. But of course I wouldn't because history's not being made with the way this movie was shot.
Yeah. I feel like the history of this movie is the plot. Like
twist was great.
I didn't even really notice the cinematography on this one because I was so like enthralled with the story. So it's like, yeah. Which it was good. They were all like, well done. But yeah, you don't even think about that. That's not even a factor for me.
I liked the twist, and I think I read a little bit that the twist was pretty influential, and then other movies have tried to do this similar thing. But no, I think 3.5. I think I'm gonna go with. It was an above average movie for sure for what I liked.
Yeah.
But tipping over that 3.5, I don't know if I enjoyed it.
Yeah, enough to put it up.
Enough to put it up in the 4 and 5s, which are like, hey, I'd watch this again right now. But
That
it
seems
doesn't
fair.
go below the 3 line of, and I probably should move Gangs of New York lower. But
That's why I gave it a 1, baby.
Maybe.
no,
Yeah.
I liked it. I'm gonna put 3.5. I'm gonna try to. I went back and updated the spreadsheet a little bit. But we should
Maybe I just
maybe
enjoy
add.
things
We
too
should maybe
easily.
add columns to that, by the way, for all of our ratings, so that we can keep track.
Yeah.
We can go ahead and add y'all a column and go back in time and try to remember. But yeah, no, 3.5. I liked it. It was a good movie. The twist
Yeah.
was great. I'm so glad I didn't read.
That would
about
have been
this
awful.
movie. I'm
like
so
being
glad I
spoiled for
didn't know
Citizen
there was
Kane
a
is one
twist.
thing. Being spoiled for this movie would ruin it.
And
You wouldn't
I
be
was
able to enjoy it,
spoiled
I don't
by
think.
I was spoiled for Pulp Fiction, and the reason I do that is I'm a very tense person naturally, so I don't like being tense. I really don't. I don't like thriller
Don't like
movies.
surprises.
You
It's
don't want
a-
to be on the edge of your seat.
It's a
No.
miracle that I liked. Like, you know, I think Alien's a great movie, and that's like not my style of movie, but I love it. I don't know, man. I'm glad I didn't spoil myself for this one. Like I was spoiled for Pulp Fiction. It's still a great movie.
Mhm.
I
This
don't
movie
know.
kind of relies on the twist, though. Like Pulp Fiction
Yeah,
doesn't
and-
really.
Yeah, this movie is the twist.
Yeah.
I agree with that. Like, even with me, shout out to Tyler for telling me that there was a twist at the end, because it kind of ruined
Different Tyler.
how I approached the movie.
Yeah, not Tyler Durden.
So
Thinking of
even
Mr.
that
Durden.
affected it. So yeah,
Nick's going crazy.
knowing what happened would be a completely different experience.
Yeah. So we're all pretty favorable. We're in general agreement. Is a good
Yeah.
movie. Danielle didn't hate it.
I didn't hate it.
This is the first one where I think this is the most I've wanted to go back and rewatch.
Really?
A
Ooh.
movie
You should.
we've seen.
That for
Interesting.
me,
Well,
that
just
movie
because
for me
knowing
is
what I know now, I think it would be really fun. Or
Yeah.
I want to show it to someone and watch someone else.
Right.
See if
Experience
it-
it. That'd be
Yeah.
fun.
that's an interesting. We should talk about that real quick for the movies that we've seen. Which one of the what we've done 5 or 6 or 7 or 8 episodes? Which of the
This is our seventh.
I think this is 7. Which of the movies? Maybe this is 8. I don't know.
It doesn't matter.
Which of the movies, including episode 0, are you the most likely to go back and rewatch at this point? For me, it's Pulp Fiction. I loved Pulp Fiction. Carl?
This is tough because every time I watch the movie like 3 or 4 times,
True.
like for these.
You're
So
pretty
like,
burnt out on 'em.
so like Groundhog Day, I literally had on loop like the whole day to really get submerged into it, you know. So I think this one I probably watched 4 or 5 times.
Wow.
Like at least on the background, a few times fully focused, but like I try to really dive into them. But I could probably honestly after watching this, I'd probably want to watch Casablanca again just because I
Okay.
need something a little bit lighter. Like I don't know, that's not really a bearing on like that movie versus the rest. It's just like at this point, I've watched this movie so many times, it's so heavy, and I just want something a little light.
I think Casablanca
So-
would be my
or
second
Roadhouse,
choice.
maybe.
But yeah,
Like-
Roadhouse is so good.
Yeah.
I think Casablanca should be what I actually watch again,
Yeah.
because I feel like I missed a lot on that one. But I would definitely watch Pulp Fiction again.
Pulp Fiction for me.
Roadhouse again.
Yeah. What about you?
Roadhouse was so good.
Roadhouse. That's hard. Probably same as you.
Pulp
Pulp
Fiction,
Fiction
man.
or
Yeah.
and Casablanca following a second.
Oh, I did have one other little point. When they're in the car and they're driving, and he's like, "What do you wish you had done before you died?" What would y'all's be?
Oh.
Oh,
The one that I always say, and this is totally beyond my control, the one thing I want to have happen to me before I die, I want to watch the Tampa Bay Rays win the World Series. That is all I want. That's
Totally within your control.
It's not within my control at all because
Yeah.
I can't help them win the World Series. I've seen them be in one, and they've been in one other, but no, that's the one thing I want left out of life, which is hysterical. But I want to watch my baseball team win the World Series. Anybody else have anything, please, better than that? Because
I don't know.
That's
If
how-
not, I was gonna say we all have homework tonight.
that's how boring my life is. All right, let's do with bucket poll. It's time
Bucket pool.
for the bucket poll.
bucket.
Danielle will sadly not be here for this one.
Nope.
She'll be in California at
Disneyland.
Disneyland.
don't you know that there's a Disney World an hour away?
She
from us?
doesn't care.
I don't care. I want it all.
The castle different.
There's a lot that's different. Okay.
It's just a
Okay.
castle.
It's not the castle. Our castle's
I
better
wanna-
actually.
Our castle is better.
Side note. So
Suck it,
Bonus
California.
episode.
gonna go
Go to
see a
Patreon.
worse.
All right, I'm pulling a movie. I'm pulling a movie.
Alright.
I'm pulling a movie.
What's it gonna
I've decided that it's this movie, and it's finally time. It's finally time. I've been waiting for this movie because I've seen the other 2 movies in this series, but did not watch the third one because I'm an idiot. So it is time to watch The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly.
be? Ooh.
It's the 3rd movie in Clint Eastwood's spaghetti western trilogy of The Man with No Name. They are not connected, so y'all other 2 will not be screwed by having not seen the first 2. It's like it's The Man with No Name. He's the man with no name each time, but I believe it's like he's 3 different people, and they're not. The stories are not interlaced in any way. So
He's taking Edward Norton's movie and adding
Yeah.
other figments of reality.
right. So Should be good. Legendary Western movie. One of the 2 Westerns that we have in this bucket. I believe we also have Tombstone. So, which that one's from the 90s, and this is like an OG. This movie will drive Nick crazy.
Poor Nick.
Because
Wait, these are the ones where the voices don't line
the
up?
voices don't line up.
Oh, that is going to be a little rough.
It's
Oh,
it's
boy.
rough for about 10 minutes.
Maybe I'll find an edit where they fixed it.
Nope. There's no fixing it. There's no fixing it. They'd have to redo the dialogue. So, like, some of the people are just speaking in Italian and they're dubbing English over their mouths and stuff
okay.
because it's
Oh.
that's the spaghetti and spaghetti Western is
Oh, gotcha.
they were filmed in Italy. Italy. They were filmed in
okay.
Italy.
So it's not like they're speaking English and the audio's just off.
That's how it is for Clint Eastwood. So,
Mm.
and you know what? It's an exciting game within a game when it does line up. You're like, it worked for that
You
one.
know what?
Fucking game. Like, do a shot. It lined up.
I've watched shows where they're speaking another language, but it's dubbed over in English, and it obviously doesn't match up. But you
Yeah.
start to pay attention to other things in the show, and it's fine.
Definitely put subtitles on too. Just because audio was.
Subtitles.
I mean, I
always.
watch subtitles always because I'm 95 years old, but no.
Subtitles and headphones.
So it's gonna have fun. It's gonna have fun. We're gonna have fun watching freaking The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. And I guarantee you, we are all gonna want to be in cowboy hats, smoking cigarillos when it's over, and on a horse.
Yeah, we have to dust off that hat back there.
I know it, man. I
Fine,
freaking
Utah.
love it. I actually bought
Utah.
I bought my first wide brim hat after watching.
I'm going to go buy a poncho.
Will you buy another
Fistful
hat
of
Start playing
dollars.
Red Dead again.
after
Are we
this
gonna
movie?
come into this episode in like full get up?
I mean, I'll wear my hat.
Like, you got a lot of nerve showing up here. This podcast ain't big enough for the both of us.
So me and Nick have a shootout in this room with Nerf
We
guns.
got like the straw in our mouths and
I've got cigarillos, bro.
Shootout.
All right, y'all.
Dude.
Let's
All right.
wrap this up. This has
Awesome.
been our Fight Club. Next time we will don our horses. Do you don a horse? The horses don you, I think, because
Yeah.
we're on top.
Does anyone
yeah,
really
the
own a
horses
horse?
don
The
you.
horses will don us, and we'll watch The Good, Bad, the Ugly. All right. Well, we've got a Saturday to get back to, so
Yep.
y'all, we'll catch y'all in the next one with the Western.
All right.
See ya.